I choose to share my story because it may possibly help somebody. If I can just help one person who has went through something similar, then it's worth it. One life, moving forward. Because this story is not easy to tell. There's a lot of shame, embarrassment. There's also a lot of pain. It hurts to keep reopening, care less what anyone else says because they weren't there. I know in my heart. When I started doing social media, I had just started growing. I started off dancing. As I started to grow, I realized that every day you get more followers, thousands, and every day they're going to ask the same questions over and over and over. I understand because they're new and they're curious and they want to know. Sometimes the person can't tell that answer. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough time in a week, the year. If I sat here and told you all these different life experiences of what I went through, we would be here for 20 years because every day I would have to reiterate. The biggest question I got, of course, a lot of people know, but they don't know the whole story. Going through life, going through marriage, I failed. I failed marriage prior to this. I felt bad, and I wanted more than anything to be that guy that got married once. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, not even close. But my intentions were there. Also, I had little girls that I had to make an example for. I had to make sure that I would show my daughters, Dad made this his wife. I fell in love. We were both in school. She was young, pretty, sweet, all this stuff. Both weren't on the right path in life, and we were messing up, making mistakes on her side, on my side, all of this. You know how you have a person and you can hug them and it just kind of feels like you fit together. It sounds stupid, that sounds corny, that might sound dumb. It might have been just me. Maybe it wasn't love, but that's how it felt to me. It felt like my wife was made to fit in my arms. I fell crazy in love with her. Well, we didn't have everyone's wishes for us to get married. Her family definitely didn't agree with it. They did not want her to marry me. And that's another story. So we ended up eloping, run off, another state, we get married, we come back. They still didn't accept it. They haven't met me, they didn't know me. They refused to even talk to me at some point. I wasn't the one that they desired her to marry. It was someone else. At first, things are good. They're amazing. All those romantic, amazing feelings that you have when you first get married. But I started to notice issues going further down our relationship. I never thought for 1 minute that she had a problem or an issue or anything like that. She had an addiction. I didn't realize the things it would make you do, how powerful addiction was. But I'll say this, it is not that person. That is not who they are. They are not an addiction. She was a homecoming queen, sweetheart, beautiful, inside and out. She had a way of lighting up the room, very bubbly, very happy, could make me smile on my worst day. Our relationship, it got real rocky. It's so hard. It's so exhausting. Then comes the details that come with addiction. Then comes the lies. Then comes the hurt. Then comes the pain. Then comes the suffering. Things were up here, and they slowly start to go down. I wanted this marriage, though, to be forever. I wanted it to work. I didn't care who knew. I didn't care who was against me. I didn't care what anyone said. I wanted more than anything to make it work. I wanted it to be permanent. It is the only tattoo I have, ever. Why? Because it's permanent. Not for a moment, but permanent. But I was on TikTok. Every day, somebody would ask me about the ring on my finger. They would say, "You're married." I'd say, "No, I'm not married." "Oh, you're divorced." "No, that's not what happened." And I would have to explain that my wife passed away. Then they want to know how. Then they want to know why. Some people say, "You just ignore everyone." But it wasn't really about them. It was about me. It was about me having to feel that feeling again. Even if they asked and it was innocent, it still did something to me. Looking down, washing my hands in the morning, working on something, I saw this and it hurt. Why? Because there's some things with no closure I still battle with today. Being reminded every day of a very traumatic event in your life is hard to look at. Why? Because you have to be healthy for yourself. If you have a family and you have to be the person who lifts this family up, you cannot do that if you're constantly down, or if you're constantly feeling beat down, if you're constantly feeling like, you know what, That's right, I remember. I was a failure. That's not going to help me. That's not going to help my kids. That's not going to help my family. That's not going to help anyone. The tape on the fingers. I got injured. I had tape on my hands. I realized something. I noticed people stop asking. Therefore, I didn't have to keep reliving it every day. So it got easier. Depression is very real. No matter if it's friends, family, things that remind you that make it hard to get out of depression. We even went to the point of divorce. We failed. We ended up divorced. We married each other again. Why? Because we wanted to keep going. We wanted to keep trying. She wanted to get better. I want everyone to know that. It wasn't like she just gave up, didn't give a crap. She didn't want to be like that. No one wants to be addicted to something. No one wants to be at their knees and feel like that is the only way they can live. Not one person would want that. We went through counseling after counseling, therapy after therapy. We went through church counseling. We went through counseling with psychiatry, rehab. And she was trying to make it work. She kept slipping and slipping. She would tell me that she's sorry. When she did these things, she says she hates this. She knows she needs to just grow up, but she can't just let it go, and she doesn't know why. So we decided, well, maybe change of environment. Had to ask her to go back to rehab and go back home to another state and get better. We still stayed married, but it got really hard. Because when people do things, no matter if it's addiction or not, if there's ever cheating, if there's ever lying, things that hurt your spouse, you can't just wipe it away. You can't wipe it away and it's just gone and you're never going to think about it ever again. It's going to make the spouse look like they are losing their mind. And that's exactly how I felt. I was trying so hard to root for her and be her teammate and tell her that she was going to beat this and she's going to do better and we're going to fix it and we're going to have an amazing life and we're going to have amazing children. We're going to do all these things. But it didn't work out like that. And she went back. We got into an argument over the phone. That I tend to be that person who holds it in or tries to hold it in as long as possible until I no longer can. While we had this argument, we said some choice words. She was supposed to get this certificate or paper that was supposed to be mailed out from the university we went to Louisiana, and she didn't. She didn't do that. So I was pissed, and I thought she did it on purpose because I was like, we're supposed to start work now, and I'm the only one here, and I'm trying to build this life for us, and I need you to get better, but you're messing up big, and I can't work now. Therefore, I cannot provide and be the father I'm supposed to be for our family that I'm supposed to be. She lied. She said she went and did it, called later, and she said, oh, I didn't do it. And then she said she forgot. I was like, you didn't forget. You did it on purpose. It went from here to here to here to here to here to here. And you've been in a relationship, especially one that can become toxic. Toxic by people, toxic by each other, toxic by family, or toxic by any addictions. Any addiction can get really bad. And I found that out myself. As she kept apologizing, she started to do the thing that I called crying wolf, where she says the world's better off without her, that she's just going to leave here and know she's messing up my life and she's messing up everyone. And I felt like it was a narcissist thing. So I somewhat hate that word because she's done it so much. She said it so many times. It never happened. Well, in our conversation, in our argument, I hung up on her. And she tried calling and I kept hanging up. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to deal with it today. I'll deal with it tomorrow. And then I said something that I never normally say. I said something that I hate that I said. My last text message to her after I hung up was burn in hell. It wasn't, I'm mad at you. It wasn't, you're stupid. It wasn't, it was burn in hell. My very last message. I called my work, the hospital I used to work at, because I didn't get my last paycheck that night. And I called the night shift where I worked at and said, hey, can you do me a favor? I was going to tell them, hey, can you go get my paycheck for me and mail it to me? Because I need the money. And when I called him, he started apologizing. It was a secretary who was a friend of mine, and apologizing. And I said, "What are you apologizing for? What? What?" And she said, "Well, you don't know." I said, "Don't know what? What are you talking about?" It's like, your wife came in, and she was dead on arrival. So, knowing that, the last things I said to her was to go to hell, and she wasn't crying wolf, and she decided to take her life, hit me hard. I went from thinking that I was no longer going to fail and I was going to be a better husband, a better person, to feeling like I was the worst. That there could possibly be nothing worse than what I did. I could have been a good husband. I could have been supportive and continued to be supportive, but I wasn't. So every day, I lived with it. Her family was so upset at me, at the situation. I was told not to attend her funeral. So I did. I went, attempted to search for her grave, and I started to walk in search for her grave, and I stopped. I turned around and said, I don't need to. I don't need to see it. Because I wasn't that person I should have been. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you did. No one deserves to be talked to like that, especially your wife. After walking away, I don't even know how to apologize for that. I don't even know how to say I'm sorry. I did later down the road call her mom and her dad, and I apologized to them. And I cried, and they cried, and that was it. I never spoke to him again. I myself started to feel what real depression was. I used to tell her, because she would always say she's depressed, and I'd say it's just the way you think, it's the mood, suck it up, get better, work harder, do better, and all this. That's exactly how I felt toward her, and that she just needed to stop. Be happy, do this, surround yourself with this, do these other things. But let me tell you guys, sometimes depression is so deep, that's not how it works. You can't just shake it off, just get up and decide today it's going to be gone. It is a long process and a lot of hard work. I found myself in the deepest of depression, and you felt the guilt of the suicide. That person begins to feel suicidal. I started drinking. I became a functioning alcoholic. When I wasn't at work, I was drinking. I was drinking liquor from the time I woke up until I pass out. I threw up in my sleep a couple times. If I woke up from that, I would continue to drink more, and on and on. I didn't want to be alive. I hated myself. I hated what I did, what I said, how I acted. I wanted to drink until I wouldn't wake up. I just wanted it to be over. But I was still alive. I continued to wake up. I no longer wanted to be me, because I didn't want to come home and face that. One day, my dad even came over after she passed and came to my apartment, and same thing. He was like, you gotta suck it up, you gotta get over this. He was so mad because there were liquor bottles everywhere, all over my apartment. He was filling up garbage bags full and cleaning out the apartment. He's like, you gotta cut this shit out, you gotta suck it up, you gotta do this, you gotta feel better, you gotta think about it. And I saw myself. I saw how I would talk to her. And I was failing. everyone, all my family and everyone. Karma is real. I was wearing her shoes and feeling that feeling. You never know what someone's going through unless you're going through it. It was about 10 months. I stopped. It was hard to go through, but I did. I quit completely. And then I moved back, and I built back my relationships with my family and tried again. Every day, I'm reminded, be careful what you say, because it might be the last thing that you say that makes someone feel helpless or hopeless. And trust me, you don't want to live with that feeling. Instead of it being a reminder of being a failed husband, it reminds me to be careful what I say. The consequences that could possibly come from your words, in fact, they're powerful enough to do something good and something bad. And that's what I learned from it.